What we have here is something imported from the land of asshole Canadians. Okay, not really, but it's a Canarm 56-inch industrial made by TAT. This one is dated July of 1986. It is a stamped steel motor with those heavy-ass steel blades. Heavy-ass blades. So, this is also another example of backlog. Did I say backlog? No, I meant backlog. Yeah, backlog. Shit's been buried for a bit too long, so I figured, time to test it. Unfortunately, it's received a little bit of storage rash, but whatever, it's nothing a wire wheel and new paint can't fix, so whatever. As you can see, it's got the... Here's a stamped steel motor again. This one has the thinner groove, which means it's the third generation of the Canarm. Well, actually, no, fourth generation of the Canarm Industrial Series, or CP56, as some would call it. The first generation was made by TAT. These are cast iron. Very cool. Hard to find. Second generation was made by Union. I've actually seen a couple of those. I don't have one, wish I did, but whatever. Third generation went back to TAT. Alright, and this version had a stamped steel motor, again, alright, but a thick band around the motor, a thick groove. These ones are very susceptible to bad capacitors. This generation had quality control issues with the capacitors where they would go bad very quickly. They sucked. This is the fourth generation where they smoothed things out. Cool. So anyway, let's see how this thing performs, shall we? Let's put it... Okay, let's go straight to low. For the purpose of testing, I am using a Nutone 4-speed wall control. And with this motor, it actually starts on low. And as you can see, the low, at least so far, is a bit of an aesthetic low. Which is a nice low. Now you can tell this is a TAT by the lines in the blades. You know, where you have where it's like a tall arrowhead with a line straight through it to the center. That's how I can tell it's a TAT. All TAT industrials, even as far... Yeah, every TAT industrial, for the most part, up until TAT's death in 2005, had these lines. Even the newest turd balls sold at Menards had these lines. So TATs are pretty distinguishable. As you can see, low is a nice aesthetic, and this is what I like to see with industrials, a nice aesthetic low. Where it's just spinning slowly, kind of doing something but not really doing something, you know, just aesthetic. go to medium now. Or not medium, medium-low. Has a little bit of a wobble. I think I need to tweak the blades a little bit. But it's not a death wobble, so I'm not going to complain that much. Now, medium-low is a functional low. This is a low that actually kind of does something. I mean, already I'm starting to feel the air. And like I said in the beginning, the blades on this are heavy as hell. Like, each blade probably weighs about a pound. I mean, obscenely heavy. Maybe a half pound. A lot, right? These are heavy gauge steel blades. You would think something like this would use aluminum, but no, let's use the heaviest friggin' gauge steel we can find and make this thing. These blades are also very wide. About as wide as something you would find on a Union. Although Union liked to use aluminum blades, so they had the advantage. So that's medium-low. Let's go to medium-high. Now your medium-high, it's like an average medium. Maybe slightly below average medium. One thing I have noticed is that TATs tend to need higher capacitor values for lower speeds. Not really sure why that is, but like I said, I didn't say this yet. I'm saying it now. Every motor from every manufacturer is different in terms of how they react to capacitor-based controls. Or for that matter, any kind of control. Except for solid state. Those ones are a little more straightforward, but you get the idea. Bearings are a little loud. They're not hissy, they're just loud. I think the bearings need to be broken in. I think maybe I'll replace them at some point. Now, straight up high. Now, it takes forever and a day to get up to speed, but once it does, it's fast. These industrials are very fast. Even with the heavy-ass blades. In terms of performance, I will put this up with a gold line. It's that kind of speed. I've always liked these things, although I've always gotten them confused, in the past at least I've always gotten them confused with Unions, you know, when I was a kid. But once you know what the blades look like, it's pretty easy to figure out. Let's let it coast. Now, because of the heavy-ass steel blades, it's gonna take a while. Even though the bearings are slightly loud, they're not very stiff. Like, these things are smooth right out of the box. Now, these TATs have some of the... This thing has the longest spin down time I've ever seen. These things take forever and a week to come to a stop. And that's all due to the heavy blades, because inertia is a thing. The heavier your load is, the longer it takes for it to come to a stop. Yeah, TAT had issues with quality control in quite a few instances, actually. I mean, even with these, I know someone who got a set of blades where one blade was aluminum, because at some point TAT did use aluminum blades as well. One blade was aluminum, two blades were steel, and... maybe it was the other way around, two aluminum and one steel, but either way, very big weight difference. Oh, and it had a death wobble. And that's what you always want in a fan, a nice, good old death wobble. Now, TAT's best days were probably around 1980 and the late 70s. TAT had been around since, I think, some point around 1959 or so. sometime in the 50s. Alright, then in the early 80s they started to cheap out. They started to cut corners, you know, stamp steel motors and this and that. Alright, and then by the late 80s, early 90s, they were selling in Walmart. Like, they were garbage fans. And then by 2005, oh god, they were total shit. You know? And by that point, oh, they were complete garbage. Scrap metal, garbage. Hated everything about them. Which is unfortunate, because it was a slow but steady demise for TAT. I mean, SMCs follow the same path, but they're still around. For reasons. But anyway, there you have it. A nice Canarm TAT Industrial. 1986.